YouTube, what's good? It's your boy, Paulus Harris, aka Medusa. Hey, if it's your first time tuning in, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell every time I post up new content. Listen, people, uh, apparently this whole Ice Cube platinum plan, is actually really, it's either about to pick up a lot of steam or it has picked up steam, right? And for the most part, I actually really went and I looked at it, what it is that Ice Cube is actually really asking for, right? And a lot of the stuff, and I will say a lot of the stuff that's on there, uh, some of it is, for the most part, is actually really is good, but a lot. But if you actually really stop and really look at it, a lot of the stuff that he's asking for, right, is a lot of the stuff is some of it, is I'm not gonna sit up and say that it is bogus, right? But some of the stuff, if a lot of stuff would actually really take place, then a lot of the stuff what he's asking for, it actually really, some of the stuff actually really cancels out, right? Because like here's the first one: black opportunity and representation. So basically, all what that is just saying, actually really going back and try to repair what has happened to Black America, so-called Black America, in times past, right? To actually really give so-called Black America actual really a shot of actually really trying to capture that what they call the American dream. Okay, I ain't got no problem with that. But at the same time, you also got to look at, all right, when you say something, like that of that magnitude, right? And then you also got to ask yourself, this very important question. Okay, what happened, or what do you think, or what do they think would happen in order for this, to actually really come reality? I mean, because again, we can sit up here and we can actually really talk about what we think happened, because of what has been taught to us in the history books, right? And then even then, you actually really got to stop and look at it and be like, okay, well, whether it actually really happened or not, do that actually really give you the right to actually really go out and did what you did, right? But okay, I'm just looking at it from, I'm just trying to actually really look at it from a different viewpoint, if you will. The second one, banking lending reform. Now he actually really said 13.4% is what we as so-called Black America put back into the economy, right? Now, for the most part, I'm gonna sit up here. I'm gonna call extreme bullshit on that, right? I mean, because, and the only reason why I say that now, I don't know what the actual numbers are as far as like the so-called black population, right? But let's just say for shits and giggles, let's just say a while back, what? Let's say it's 50 million out of 300, damn near 400 million people in this country. Let's just say that 50 million, if not more, or so-called African American. And all of what we're doing is doing 13.4% of the economy. I mean, now, are you actually really, I mean, are these numbers, is this number actually really based off of people that are actually really working? Or is this number actually really based off of people with the combination of people working, welfare, or retirement, retirement disability? I mean, because I'm just looking like this. Money is money, right? Whether you actually really out there getting it now, right? Or you already done got it, and and for the most part, you really ain't got to go out there and get it no more, right? But in our case, whatever the case may be, right? You actually like really going out there and you spending your dollars, and you actually really putting it back. You actually really putting it back into the economy. So, and I also think that what Cube is actually really asking for this is like, okay, well, if we putting it back in, we should get back what we putting back in, right? And then it's just like I said, if it's 50, just like say if it's anywhere from 30 to 50 million people in the total population, and all what the fuck we doing is what, 13.5%. I question that, right? So then it says federal funding of baby bonds, right? Now, basically what this is, I guess this is basically what he's saying right here is that it's nothing more than what Senator Baker and Representative Presley had proposed a while back. I mean, depending on, and this is actually really based off of if you're born into a family that has a low income, right? And it's just like say, so they basically what they're saying, like, okay, well, if you're born, right, and your family ain't doing too good financially wise, right, then we gonna give you $1,000, right, up until the child is 18. And then whatever actually really comes about that, however much money that's accumulated, then that's what the child is gonna get. Hoping that, okay, whatever however much money has accumulated, once the child, reaches the age of 18, right, then they can actually really go out there and do what they want to do with their little piece of money. But see, here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that, because for the most part, that's almost like, okay. And matter of fact, we was talking about something similar to this last night when I was across the street over at the DAB. Well, with the election that's coming up, and I know I said this on this channel and as well on my Facebook page, where that I truly honestly said that, hey, look, if these motherfuckers actually really want old Apollos Harris to go to register to vote and to actually vote, they're gonna have to do one thing, right? And that one thing is, if you give an organization 20 plus years of your life and you retire, then whatever that I have earned, give me everything that I earned. Stop taking motherfucking taxes out of my goddamn retirement check every month, right? And then the lady, she actually really did one better. All of these people that are just purposely just relying on the welfare system, having these babies because they already know that the more kids you have, the more money that you actually really going to get either from the government or the state or a combination of both. Right? So again, if indeed this actually really comes into play, right? Then for the most part, you're probably gonna, one or two things is gonna happen, right? It's either gonna slow down the production rate, right? Or it's gonna be where that, okay, some type of loophole is actually really gonna be implemented where that money is actually really going to be spent before the child actually really reaches the age of 18. And again, this is just me talking. This is just me talking. And then again, you also got to look at the simple fact that, okay, this is $1,000. This is $1,000 that we're talking about. Now, are we saying is this $1,000 a month? Is this $1,000 a year? And then during the course of the time when the child turns 18, right? Is this money actually really gonna draw interest? I mean, what else is actually really going on with this? What else is actually really going on with this $1,000? And then here's one of the rules that what I was talking about, right? When you actually really stop and look at it, right? See, here's the one where, for the most part, right? If you actually really go out there, and if you look at number one, and we actually really look at what number one is saying, right? Then number three is not necessary because you are already looking at, because number one and number two are actually really starting to work for you. So what the hell you need with number three for, right? So 4 is like Federal Reserve and government pension. And basically all what that's saying is that, give for those that actually really want to buy a home, right? Then you get that one-time loan with no interest fee, so it's almost like, okay, well, hey, look, if I want to borrow 200 grand, then that's all I got to pay back is 200 grand, right? But then again, for the most part, you can actually really, again, you can look at number 4 the same way that you can look at number 3, right? And then if you got 1 and 2 working for you, then why have number 4? Like seriously, right? Then number 5, right? It says finance oversight. So basically what they saying is, okay, so again, right? Look at number 1, look at number 2. So why the hell you need number 5 for, right? If number 1 and number 2 are working for you, right? So basically they're looking at this simple fact, okay, well, hey, look, all right, we know what the fuck you did in the past, right? So basically all what this is, I'm not fucked up about what you're doing in the past or what you've done in the past. I'm fucked up about what you finna do now. Okay, you got a clean slate, right? So now that you got a clean slate, right? So the next question is, what you gonna do about it? All right. You got you got you a pretty good job. Got you a pretty good job. You can go to the bank, get some money, right? Get you a house or whatever. And let's just really see how you do, right? Just like I said, you got your job, so you don't need number 3, right? And that should be for every goddamn body. Plain and simple, right? So now you gonna sit up here. So basically, again, I could be looking at this wrong, but basically what they saying right here now is like, okay, well, how many people after number one and number two have been implemented? How many people are actually really taking advantage of number one and number two? To be quite obvious, that's almost like how it is now, right? Where that if you put like this, if you can actually really go out there and find it, it's on YouTube. Where it was actually really talking about the American dream. It's, you know, it's cartoon animated, right? But it's about 30 minutes long. It's real good, and it actually like really explains how these motherfuckers actually really get you. Where that the government, you know, they get this money from the Federal Reserve, right? And then for the most part, they go out there and they find people to loan this money to, whether or not you can pay it back or not. You give, put like this, you give a person the opportunity to, you know, to give them a nice piece of money, knowing damn well they ain't gonna pay it back. But it's just for the simple fact that they don't pay it back, right? Then you can actually really take that, you can take that debt, right? And then you can pass it off to the next motherfucker. And then they pass it off to the next motherfucker, so on and so forth, right? Until, for the most part, that it's totally and completely out of hand. And basically all what they're gonna do, they ain't gonna do nothing but just add that to the so-called national debt that they claim that the country is in the first goddamn place. So for the most part, you can pretty much just say, number 5, yeah, you get rid of that one too. Number 6, personal data and credit. So, and then I actually put in, so basically this was something, they actually really went back to the 1970 Fair Credit Reporting Act. So again, you can go back, number 1, number 2, right? Just like I said, you know, I didn't actually really write all this shit down word for word, right? For the most part, I'm just giving you like a quick briefing of all of this stuff, what is in this so-called platinum plan, right? Because again, right? You pretty much saying the exact same shit over and over, right? So let's look at what number 7 has to say. Prison reform. So they want to do away with all of the privately run prisons. Okay. You know, for the most part, now this is actually like really one, because you know motherfuckers act, no matter how well that the economy may be going, it's always gonna be that one motherfucker, that one motherfucker or motherfuckers, right? It's actually like really gonna try to, you know, to motherfucking overplay the system. I mean, it's what motherfuckers do. Hold that thought right fast. So again, if you go to prison, right now, regardless of what the average what they actually really had these people doing in prison, if they got them in there doing cheap labor, then I just look at it like this, right? If you go out there and you call yourself trying to beat the system, right? And for the most part, eventually, if you do it long enough, you will indeed eventually get caught, right? Now, depending on the severity of it, Now, does it actually like really require for you to, does it act? Is it actually really going to require prison time? Again, that's all that that's something that is actually like really up to the judge, and then whoever the hell that you got representing you for a lawyer, right? All of that would actually really come into play when if you actually really want to do prison time with that. So again, you got to look at you got to actually really stop and look at it for a minute and be like, okay, well, what 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 is it that that these people are actually really trying to accomplish here? That's what you have to actually really that's what you actually like really have to stop and look at, right? What are we doing, or what are they actually really what are they trying to do? And y'all gonna have to excuse me. I'm actually really trying to do, try to do my best of multitasking, right? But if you actually really, look at it, of what I'm doing right now, right? Of I read all of these rules of what Cube is actually really asking for right now so far, right? Once actually really broken down, he's only for the most part, out of the 12, only 3 of them are actually like really worthwhile, right? So number 8 is the judicial reform. Eliminate mandatory minimums and 3-strike laws. Now, this one, I can look at it and be like, you know what? If you do something, okay, put it like this. We can sit up here right now and be like, okay, for the most part, or you should know the difference between right, what is so-called right and what is so-called wrong. But just like I said, it's human nature will actually really tell you, hey, look, I know this is what the fuck they say don't do. But I'm gonna do it anyway, because I feel like that I'm not actually really gonna get caught. And for the most part, you may not get caught. But just know that these motherfuckers are actually really watching you. They know that you doing this shit. They'll just sit up there and they'll watch you just to see how long that you actually really think that you're getting away with some shit. Right? And so then when they actually really catch your ass, right? Now again, this you can actually look at this, and you can actually really go back to what number 7 was talking about, right? Is the severity of the crime, right? Is it actually really worth prison time, right? Or will 30 days in the county jail be enough to make sure that you don't do this shit no more, right? If not 30, maybe 60 or 90 or 120, right? But then when you actually really go out there and you steady constantly do the same shit over and over and over, right? 9 times out of 10, that's probably why the doggone 3 strikes and you're out rule was put in place in the first place. Or at least maybe that's what the fuck they thought that they was doing back in the day when Clinton and crew actually really put this law into existence, right? So me personally, I wouldn't do away with it, but actually I really just stop and look at it for a minute and be like, okay, well, and then ask the question, well, what was it that they was actually really trying to do in the first place, right? When they came up with the 3 strikes in your out room. Let's actually really stop and think about that for a minute. Now, Police Reform Act, again, right? That is something that has been going on forever and a day, right? As far as like, okay, how are you really going to train the police officer? Right? I mean, because the thing about it, because the thing about the police, regardless of state or city, right? If you're really going to try to reform the police, right? Then whatever rules that they may have in place, as far as like, well, what do you, I mean, what does it really mean for you to actually really become a police officer? What is it that you actually really trying to do, right? Are you really out there to serve and protect the doggone citizen or citizens in your fair city or state? Or are you actually really trying to do it for personal gain? And it's just for the simple fact, hey, I'm either with a nigga with a badge or I'm a redneck with a badge, right? And I got permission to kick your fucking ass whenever I feel like, right? Because I'm gonna tell you something, right? I can sit up here and I can present myself in such a way that I can just walk on water, right? And I'm here for the I'm here for the people in my fair city or my state, right? Then I act like they send my ass to the motherfucking police academy. I do all the training. I'm at the top of my class, and then the first time that I actually really put on a uniform, I'm a total and completely different person. Meaning that all that shit what I just told you was nothing but for me to actually really get on the goddamn police force. So other measures are going to have to be taken before these motherfuckers, well, I don't want to call them motherfuckers, before these people, whether you male or female, so-called black, so-called white, right? Before you even actually, like, something gonna have to be done before you even put them in uniform and actually really send them to the doggone police academy. That's something that's always been the case. So I guess you can leave that one there. Now, number 10 was a good one. FCC licensing and public airways. Okay, I give that one. That's a good one, right? It's because I just look at it like this, right? You can actually really look at it and put it. It could be a good thing or a bad thing, right? Because again, right, depending on what is already out there, whether or not you actually really gonna come up with your actual own channel, or you actually really gonna be a subcontractor on what is already out there, right? That is, again, that's something that you actually really got to look at, right? And then whatever it is that you actually really trying to put on the airway or airways, right? Whether it's that of actual television, what you do here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, or whatever the hell that's actually really out there right now, whatever platform that you actually really going to use, right? Is it something that, for the most part, that you, as an individual or group of people, right, that you put out there, right, and regardless of what the fuck, regardless of what it is that you have really put out there, your own opinion, right, you actually really got to actually really stop and think: is he going to piss off the next motherfucker, right? But then again, you also got to look at it like this. If it pisses off the next motherfucker, so the fuck what? How about you not watch that particular channel? Plain and simple. That's how you do that. So again, number 10, okay, I can live with number 10. I can live with number 10. 7, I can deal with. Just like I say, 1 and 2, I can deal with. 3, 4, 5, and 6, it's the same thing as number 1 and number 2. 7, okay, 8, if they change it up, 9, that's something that's always been the case. 10, I can do. Now 11 is funny because number 11 is saying Confederate monuments and institutions. So now they want to sit up here and say, well, we want to eliminate, it says eliminate, eliminate all of the doggone Confederate statues, monuments, the whole 9. They don't want nothing. They don't want nothing to do with the doggone Confederacy, right? But then again, if you actually go back and watch the video that I did, I said, hey, let's bring back the Confederacy. And for the most part, I actually really said this. See, you got to go back a pretty good ways when everybody was over there in England or United Kingdom, when everybody was under Britain's rule, Great Britain, or whatever, right? And so basically what happened, the people at that time, they didn't like what the fuck was going on. So just like anybody else, right? They try to say, hey, guess what? This is bullshit, right? We really don't mind it, right? But how about you word it in such a way where that everybody can actually really, where everybody can actually really be in agreement of what it is that you actually really trying to say. So then the higher up, they said, well, hell no. Either you put like this, you do it like how the fuck we gonna tell you, right? Or suffer the consequences. So guess what the fuck happened? Them motherfuckers got on some boats and they said, you know what? I'm gonna holler at you later. And then they came over here, established the government, which eventually turned into the 13 colonies, right? And then they did things the way that they felt shit should be ran, right? And then, as time progressed, the Civil War, what was the Civil War about? A lot of motherfuckers want to say it was about slavery. But here's the deal. It was a lot of, it put like this, it was people already over here. Look at what happened back in 1492, right? So we was already over here, right? So whoever actually really came on the slave ships or whatever, that's even if they were able to make that 90-day plus ride over here on a boat. And for the most part, you really didn't have a good idea where the fuck you was going to, right? So like a lot of stuff, you gotta look, really gotta stop and look at, okay, well, what was really going on at the time? Why was it going on at that particular time? Don't just sit up here and just buy into what the fuck the motherfucker would tell you in the goddamn history books. All right? So, and then for the most part, you got, so like I said, it happened over there. So if it happened over there, what the fuck you think it won't happen over here? Right? So they split. And then you have the Confederacy. Right? Now eventually, right? The Confederates, they lost. And then everybody was whole once again. Right? So for the most part, leave the goddamn Confederates, leave the Confederate shit alone, right? Because again, if you really gonna fuck with the goddamn Confederacy, then you need to be able to fuck with all of it, because all of it, for the most part, is criminal, plain and simple. So look at it as a learning tool. I mean, really look at it as a learning tool. Actually really figure out what the fuck happened back then before you just say, oh, the hell with the Confederacy. No. That ain't how the song goes. Now, number 12, I like. Because basically, I'm thinking what Cube is saying right here. Okay, let's bring back how it once was. And it actually says it's an AJP program for education and jobs, public and private schools, program provides access to jobs and education. So basically, it's saying, okay, on top of what you're supposed to learn, you got your reading, your writing, and your arithmetic, right? And then they'll sit up here and say, okay, well, hey, guess what? We got this mechanical class, automotive class that you can take, right? And if you do real good, you graduate, guess what? It's a job out there waiting for you, right? And for the most part, I've been out of high school damn near 30 years, right? And so basically what happened with me, right? And again, a lot of this stuff was in play back when I was in school, right? So I took matter of fact, it was a boat, but they called it boat tech. I don't know. It was a boat tech class back then. I took commercial foods, right? To actually really to learn how to prepare food, at a cafeteria level, right? The whole nine, right? And it was a pretty good class. I passed it. Did I do any goddamn thing with it? No, right? I just did it because, hey, look, it'll help you towards your goddamn, your graduation, getting your diploma, right? So number 12, I can deal with. Number 11, you can X that one, right? So they like to say, so far we can do away with 3, 4, 5, 6, and 11. Let's change up. Hold on. You can do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like I say, 7, change up number 8. 9, that's something they've been doing. So you can get rid of that one. 10, you can keep. 11, do away with 11. 12, you can keep or bring it back, right? And then the last one, black responsibility. Really, motherfucker. So, so you can't actually again, right? That's something. Damn. Okay, so that's something that you can do away with that too. Because you're a grown motherfucker, right? You don't know how to take care of yourself. Somebody got to actually really put some shit in place. And we're like, oh damn, I got to take care of myself, right? So that's how I actually really looked at the program, right? A lot of the stuff I can actually really sit up here and say, okay, a lot of it you probably just run it off at the mouth, right? Because for the most part, you could have just did away. Instead of having 13 or 12, you probably could have just had 5 good ones, right? And then if you want to put like subtitles up under it, then yeah, who wouldn't jump to that, right? But honestly, all of it actually really boils down to education, right? Change up the education, change up the criteria of education, especially with history, because for the most part, this is where all this shit starts. What is actually really being taught as far as history goes is motherfucking bogus, right? It's just like what Dan Calloway said. Racism is taught. So the first time that you take a goddamn history class and the first time that they holler about slavery or so-called slavery, guess what the fuck you just did? You just separated. The separation process has begun right then and there, right? I mean, it's almost like, okay, you say what, you're gonna lie about what the fuck Christopher Columbus did, right? As far as like, he discovered America, right? Knowing that there was people already over here. But it's just like what I said, if you look up something that's called doctrine of discovery, then you can actually really say, okay, well, and considering what rules were implemented in the doctrine of discovery, then you can be like, oh, okay, now I understand why they said that, right? So you go in there, so like I say, if you want to go in there and talk about prison reform and all this kind of stuff, you should have said education reform. And actually really put what needs to be put in the goddamn history book. You do that, then a lot of this stuff, what Q was talking about, you can best believe a lot of that shit would cancel itself out. Plain and simple. So with that being said, tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell Big Dad, tell Big Bertha, tell your uncle, your auntie, your grandma, your pawpaw, motherfucker next door, cross the street, round the corner. Paulus Harris, aka the Medusa. Till next time.